podcast. I'm the gentleman, accompanied by the disturbed Southern Belle.
Hello.
And in this episode, we're going to be continuing with the Belle's previous episode, except dirty jobs in modern times, or disturbing jobs, whatever.
Otter jobs, yes. Dangerous, all that.
Yep. So, I'm going to be covering some of the more dangerous jobs in modern times and their basic qualifications and basic estimated income for these jobs.
Some are surprisingly low considering what, even the danger level.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Both required education stuff, like requirements, and the pay are both shockingly low, especially for this first one. Like, this first one, you would think it would be much higher than it is. The pay doesn't seem that bad.
Considering they may not have to go out a lot, I know who you're talking about, they may not have a lot of times they go out, so I mean, yeah, but...
So, we're talking about bomb technicians, the bomb squad, so to
Right.
speak. So, whenever there's a bomb threat, whether it be real or a fake, these rather brave professionals are always on the front lines investigating whether or not it is a real threat or a false alarm.
Right.
So, after doing a sweep of the area to detect and identify any explosives or potential explosives, bomb technicians are tasked with carefully deactivating and disposing of the devices, as well as ensuring that everyone at the location is evacuated safely. In some cases, bomb technicians may be required to work on cases involving people wearing suicide vests or hostage situations
Right.
involving explosives.
Yeah.
Once they have gained experience dealing with different types of emergencies, they may go on to train other technicians. Bomb technicians are generally police officers who have received specialized training, which can take up to 8 months to complete to do this dangerous job. During this training, professionals learn how to deal with different types of bomb threats, including when an explosive device is on the roof of a building, underwater, or even in a parking lot. Also, as bomb technicians learn these skills, they build their communication, teamwork, and critical thinking abilities, as would be required, you would imagine.
Right.
So, the mean annual wage for bomb technicians is about $62,960, just to give a rough number.
Right.
So, about 63 grand.
Which is like you said, it's not terrible money because they may not even have to go out that often. But yeah, it's a very dangerous job, and I mean, I'm sure a lot of people
Oh,
got hurt,
absolutely.
depending on where they're at, especially like what country or something. Because some I would sure would have more prevalent threats more often.
Right. So, the shocking part about this is the educational requirement for this. All you have to have, for the most part, is a high school degree.
Probably so. I mean, there's not really anything in college I don't imagine you could take that would be for specifically for that, I guess. So I really don't know.
But you would think it would be
Yeah.
higher.
You would think they would have to have something a little more, but I guess not. I have never thought about it, but yeah. I guess they just get all the training they need on job, so to speak, and that's it.
Yeah,
That's
fair
what-
enough, I guess.
I mean, I'm assuming because it's so specialized.
True. Anyways, up next is actually not even probably, a definitely more dangerous job that honestly pays much less than you think it would.
Yeah, very much so.
Like, especially considering what you've heard about it. Like, you've heard that it pays pretty well.
Yeah.
It doesn't pay as well as you think it should. We're talking about crab fishermen.
No, the only ones of those I think that make a decent amount of money are the ones who actually own the boat.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. If you don't, you kind of work on the boat, you don't make as much as you think you would.
No. So, seafood lovers out there may know how to serve up a cookbook's worth of delicious crab dishes, but what I imagine most of them don't know is just how dangerous the Alaskan waters get for those on crab boats.
Yeah, there's been some, I know, like documentaries and also like reality shows that shows it, and they are
Yeah.
bad. It's
Oh,
horrible, and
it's awful.
sometimes, not always, of course, but those waters get, let's say, choppy. And
Bit
that's
of an
a
understatement.
big understatement at times. Yes.
But yeah, in fact, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, crab fishermen have one of the most dangerous careers out there, with, in between the span of 2003 and 2009 alone, 37 documented professionals were recorded as having died.
Mm.
That's documented. And not of a very large study,
Right.
to be honest.
No, probably not. And then who knows how many people may have been like illegal aliens type thing, because they probably cheap labor and they get put on a lot of jobs like doing stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Don't think they don't. They do. And so, they probably wouldn't even said anything about anything if anything happened to some of them.
It brings me back to a thing I mentioned in the previous episode. You take the jobs that no one else wants to do,
Right.
and you'll make a decent living.
Or maybe you just make a living.
Or maybe just die.
Maybe. Never know. Depending on the job.
Depends on the job.
Maybe wish you were dead anyway, doing some of them, especially some of the ones in the last episode.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Anyways, so the common causes for these workplace fatalities are drowning due to rough seas and waves being
Falling off
very
boats,
treacherous.
basically, right.
As well as fishermen being thrown overboard after getting entangled in the typically 800-pound steel cages they work with, which are known as crab pots.
Right.
Also, it's not uncommon for job-related deaths to be caused by hypothermia.
Right.
Because Alaska.
Yeah, and the waters are very cold, and if they fell in the water even for just a little bit, they could die, before they could get them heated back up, or get them out of the water, basically.
Hell, just a few minutes would cause permanent damage.
It could. I mean, just depending on where they were specifically and how cold the water was. But the water's not going to be that warm anywhere. But, some places it would be colder. But, yeah, good grief. It would not be fun.
Anyways, despite the potential dangers, some people are still interested in getting these jobs, which entail daily tasks such as using equipment to pinpoint where their catch will be located, dropping baited pots into the water and retrieving them when they're full, and sorting and storing the catch.
Which would be dangerous too, because you're dealing with crabs.
So, based off of just the stuff I've mentioned, the annual wage, I feel like, should be more than 28.5 grand.
I would say so. I mean, that's not that much if you break it down per hour. That's somebody who's making maybe $15, $16 an hour. Thereabouts, probably.
Right.
Now, that's just a rough estimate. Of course, I'm just quickly thinking in my head, but it wouldn't be a ton of money at all. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
For the danger level, my God.
Oh, absolutely.
But
Although, hey, one thing, there is no educational requirement.
I wouldn't figure so. I mean, why would there be, really? I mean...
That is literally a job where you get all the training you need on site.
And that's probably one of the reasons why they just pay you whatever they want to.
Probably.
Because you don't have any...
Because typically people who look for those jobs don't have greater prospects.
Don't have a lot of options, right? Because you drop out of high school, even now, it's hard to get almost any job. I mean, this very limited, the things you could get with no, at least a high school or GEDs type thing. Something, at the very minimum.
So, next on the list is whatever, crime scene cleaners.
Ugh, those would not be fun either, because who knows what you might
You
find.
never know what you're going to get.
No. And so how old they are, too, can lead to creepy crawlies, so to speak. Ugh.
Anyways, after a violent crime occurs, as police are working to solve the case, these professionals are tasked with literally cleaning up the aftermath, which can include body tissue, bone fragments, blood, and other bodily fluids. Also, they may handle contaminated items at a crime scene, such as furniture, carpeting, and bedding.
Mm-hmm.
This position is very much not for the faint of heart
I wouldn't say so.
or the weak of stomach, because not only are crime scene cleaners exposed to extremely gruesome sights and smells regularly, but by the nature of the job, they're put at risk for being exposed to diseases like
Right.
hepatitis and AIDS.
Of course.
So,
'Cause-
in addition to handling the physical and psychological demands of the jobs, workers must also be able to show compassion to the loved ones who
Right.
may be at the scene,
True.
which is fair.
Right.
Flexibility is also a must for those in this position, since, well,
You kind of be on call any old time, right?
yeah,
More or less. I mean, I'm sure they probably have some reasonable time they go in, but you get what I mean. You never know when it's going to happen, what day or something.
right. So, the rough annual wage for this job is surprisingly high, I want to say, for basically glorified custodian.
Sorta. I mean, it's just more dangerous
Yeah,
and grosser.
yeah. Anyways, it's 41.4 grand.
It's not terrible, I guess. I mean, it would just depend on where you lived because, certain areas you probably would make more because you would have more, sadly, scenes you could clean up,
Yeah.
more violent areas as opposed to some. But, yeah, I mean, I guess if you were able to do it, it has to be done.
Also, the education requirement is high school.
Hmm.
You have to have a high school diploma.
Right. Probably have to do some, little basic training stuff where you learn how to handle bodily fluids stuff.
Yeah.
Probably get
Also, certain chemicals
right,
and
things
stuff
like
like
that.
that.
But other than that, yeah, I wouldn't see why you would have to go much higher than high school. That makes
No.
sense.
So, next is entomologists. So, from ants to beetles to cockroaches to dragonflies, entomologists spend their days working around the creepy crawlies that most people generally go out of their way to avoid. And they are paid a lot of money to exterminate them. But there is a good reason why these professionals are so interested in the study of bugs. Though they seem like pests to most people, some insects actually do play important roles in our environments by pollinating flowers and protecting crops.
Of course, like bees.
Yep.
Just that,
So, in addition to providing an understanding of the role bugs play in an ecosystem, the work of entomologists can help prevent the spread of diseases, contribute to the development of new medications, and provide information about where and when a crime may have occurred. Which is
Yeah, they can see how the body's decaying with the
Right.
bugs if it was left out. I know it's disgusting, but
oh yeah,
I mean it's something that it's helpful though. I mean like the body form that we talked about on an episode where they put those people donate their bodies to science. They put them out in different conditions and then see how
Right.
quickly things decay. But they have to do that in order to see if they find bodies out. It helps them because different situations will cause things to happen faster or slower.
yep.
And it just gives them an estimated time so that they can help solve the crime, hopefully. Figure out when the person was, died or whatever.
So, generally, entomologists focus on a specific area. For example, structural entomologists focus their research on the bugs that can be found in people's homes,
Right.
such as cockroaches, and it's to determine to determine ways to get them out of a building and to keep them out.
Right.
Similarly, agricultural entomologists primarily study how to rid farms of harmful insects without hurting the ones that are beneficial to crops.
Right. Which would be hard.
Yeah, it's a
That's-
very delicate balance.
It is. I mean, you got to think that you want bees to come in to pollinate, and then you've got other bugs that are eating the crops, and you're trying to kill one without killing the other. It's not as easy as you think.
And so naturally, the pay and educational requirements for this job are fairly high.
I would assume so. Yes.
So the rough annual wage is about 62 grand a year.
Mhm.
And the educational requirement is a bachelor's degree.
Oh, that makes sense. I mean, on the minimum at the very least, right? I'm guessing it would probably go up depending on what they did and how
Oh, yeah,
extensive they got into
absolutely.
it. But for the baseline, I could definitely see having to have at least a bachelor's degree. And I guess that's not terrible money either. I mean, considering a lot of what they would be doing would
Right.
be like lab work and stuff, so that wouldn't be horrible. I don't imagine.
So, moving on, we have epidemiologists. when there's a disease outbreak, epidemiologists are hard at work trying to understand why it's occurring
Mm.
and what can be done to help those affected and just how to stop it from spreading further.
Right.
Although much of this work involves crunching numbers and conducting interviews, they're still responsible for collecting and examining blood and tissue samples of those who are sick.
Right.
In addition to handling biological materials that would make a lot of people rather queasy, these disease detectives are also putting themselves at risk of contracting an illness during their investigations. As a result, safety precautions such as wearing masks and gloves are extremely necessary when doing this work.
Oh, absolutely. Probably full biohazard suits in some cases.
Oh, absolutely. Especially since some of them work for government agencies on the federal, state, and even local levels.
Right. Probably like the CDC and stuff like that, of
Yep.
course, the Department of Health.
As well as they also work in hospitals and colleges. In some cases, they can find employment in the private sector, where they may conduct research for pharmaceutical and insurance companies. These professionals tend to specialize in a specific area of public health, such as injury, infectious disease, environmental health, or substance abuse.
Hmm.
The rough annual wage for this job is about 69.6 grand a year.
Probably.
Not bad.
Like I said,
at
a
all.
lot of these are going to be starting wages, of course,
Oh,
and
yeah.
depending on the level.
They're gonna flux.
Exactly. But that's just a base medium wage. And that's not horrible. I mean, to start out, I guess.
It's not. Although the degree level requirement for this one is a master's, so
I could see that because you're dealing with sort of more medical things.
Right.
And body and anatomy and all that stuff, to a certain extent, of course.
Yep. So, next are forensic psychologists. All fans of true crime books or shows on, say, the Discovery Channel
Right.
have wondered exactly what makes criminals tick.
Mm-hmm.
Forensic psychologists are responsible for getting those answers and deep diving into the recesses of the scariest minds that mental health professionals can encounter. In order to do this, these professionals study the facts of a crime and talk to the convicted criminal to make recommendations on how the person should be sentenced or if they should be given parole.
Right.
When someone has not been convicted yet, forensic psychologists may assess the suspect to provide insight on whether or not the person is mentally fit to stand trial.
Right.
After making these determinations, they write reports detailing their findings and are often called to testify in court. In addition, they may be asked to help victims of violent crimes work through their trauma so they're mentally strong enough to testify against the perp. So not all of the work that forensic psychologists do is reminiscent of a Criminal Minds episode, however, since this field is concerned with applying psychological principles to legal issues. These workers may also use their expertise to assist in civil and family law cases. So the rough annual wage for this job is about 77 grand.
Not terrible, I guess.
Not bad.
If they're more of a specialized psychologist, they wouldn't be just dealing with normally just standard patients and things.
Right.
So,
And as such, the degree level requirement is a doctorate.
Right.
So, yeah,
makes sense.
it does. So next on the list are herpetologists.
Mhm.
So much like entomologists, herpetologists work with things that generally tend to make the skin crawl. In their case, it's amphibians and reptiles,
Right.
which means they can be experts on snakes, lizards, crocodiles, frogs, or even newts.
Right.
As they study these creatures, herpetologists learn information about their anatomy, behavior, genetics, and reproductive practices. However, this work is not always done from the comfort of a lab, as they often study animals in their natural habitat, which can make them vulnerable to disease, invasive species, and pollution.
Right.
When they're not out in the field, they tend to analyze the specimens they collect, provide care for the animals they're studying in the lab, and write reports about their findings that may be published in scholarly journals. Oftentimes, these researchers also work as college professors, so they're teaching the next generation of herpetologists about them.
Right.
Those who don't work in a research setting may find employment at museums where they preserve, catalog, and organize animals that are put on display. Also, these professionals may work at zoos, taking care of the reptiles and amphibians, as well as running educational programs for the public. The rough annual wage for this job is about 62 grand.
Hmm.
The degree level required is a bachelor's.
Right.
Next is medical laboratory technologist. The good news for this is that the work of medical laboratory technologist helps to identify patient illnesses,
Right.
such as cancers, diabetes, and heart disease,
Mm-hmm.
and supplies invaluable data to doctors that allow them to choose the most effective treatments. The bad news, however, these professionals have to spend their days handling tissue, blood, and urine samples in order to do it,
Right.
which means they're putting themselves at risk of contracting the illnesses they're working to detect.
Right.
As a result, medical laboratory technologists are required to wear masks, goggles, and gloves on the job to stay safe.
Of course.
There are several types of medical laboratory technologists, with each focusing on a different specialty. For example, there are blood bank technologists, which are responsible for taking blood from people, classifying it, and preparing it to be used in transfusions.
Right.
There's also clinical chemistry technologists who work with bodily fluids to analyze the hormones of a patient, and immunology technologists who examine samples to understand the immune system and how it responds to threats. No matter which specialty medical laboratory technologists choose, they're expected to work long hours and almost always on their feet in the lab.
Right.
The rough annual wage for this job, these jobs, is about 51.7 grand.
That's not terrible either. I mean, for basically a lab type job.
Yep. The degree requirement is a bachelor's.
Yeah, that makes sense as well.
So, next are pathologists. So, medical doctors are no strangers to working with things others would consider gross. And holds true for pathologists. These physicians, much like epidemiologists, are concerned with the study of disease, so their work involves examining tissues, bodily fluids, cells, and organs to determine if someone is suffering from an illness.
Right.
Although pathologists don't generally interact with patients directly, they do play an integral role in patient care as they advise the doctors on the best treatments for a disease. Pathologists may choose a specialty on which to focus their work. For example, surgical pathologists examine specimens that have been collected from procedures like biopsies, and cytopathologists look at fluids and tissue smears to find out if someone is suffering from a disease. But the work of pathologists is not limited to helping the living. In some cases, these professionals specialize in the dead, which makes them responsible for performing autopsies to find the case of someone's demise. Not only does this help medical specialists discover why someone died, it also allows them to find out if a treatment they were receiving for a disease was effective or not. The rough annual wage for this is actually our first 6-digit one, at $211,000 a year.
Wow. Not bad.
Not bad at all. Requires a doctoral degree.
Well, of course.
Naturally.
Right.
Next on the list is the phlebotomist. So, people who cannot stand the sight of blood should absolutely avoid this career like the plague, since it is literally blood.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just the entire description you need for this job.
Right.
Blood.
Yeah.
So, these professionals take blood from patients that is used for medical tests or transfusions. They ensure that drawn samples are labeled, stored, and entered into a database properly, and they maintain the instruments they use, such as needles and vials. But even though they're working with blood, it doesn't mean that they can get away with the bedside manner of, say, Dracula. In many cases, they're taking samples from nervous patients who are afraid of needles or anxious about what their test results might be.
Right. Or
So-
children.
Or children.
And that would be fun, of course, as you can imagine.
Oh, yes.
Having to hold them down and all that good stuff. I mean, I've even seen it where they've even had to strap some kids down, it's bad enough. People.
Yeah.
So.
Either way, with all of this in mind, it's imperative for phlebotomists to have good communication skills so that they can calm people down, as well as explain how the process works. In addition, these workers are required to help patients when they have an adverse reaction after giving blood. So, phlebotomists can find employment in hospitals, doctors' offices, nursing homes, clinical laboratories, and blood donation centers, naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Those who work in labs and hospitals may have to work nights and weekends, while other professionals generally work full-time business hours.
True.
The rough annual wage for this is about $33.6 grand a year.
If that were all you were doing was just drawing blood, I suppose that wouldn't be terrible money. I mean,
No.
considering, it wouldn't be one of the worst type jobs. It wouldn't bother me other than dealing with some of the difficult people. I don't really care blood. I'm not a fan. I don't want to see it, but it doesn't bother me. It never has.
No. So, also, in terms of the degree level required, you're going to need a certificate, like specialized training to do this job.
Which usually you get at something like a vocational school or something of that nature. And some colleges, of course, would offer it as well.
Yep. So, next is actually something that, is related to what a lot of people consider a rather fun recreational activity that you probably could not pay me to do.
Right.
Police diver.
Yeah, I'm not interested in diving. I've heard too many horror stories. I have no problem with people who want to do it. If you want to do it, that's fine. I don't think you're stupid for doing it. Like, some people are really down on everything because you don't enjoy it. But it would not be for me.
No. I've had way too many close calls with drowning.
I've had some myself, more than a couple, actually. And I'm just not a fan of deep water. I'm just not.
Like, I'm not afraid of water.
No, I'm not afraid of water, but I prefer water. If I'm in water, I prefer water where I can touch bottom and stand up and still be okay. That's my preference. I can swim. That's not the problem. I just don't prefer it. But that's
Either way. So, for some, as I mentioned, diving is a great recreational activity that allows them to get in touch with nature. For police divers, however, going underwater is everything but relaxing.
I imagine, God, some of the stuff you'd be finding.
It's awful.
It would be.
Especially considering that they're looking for corpses.
Most of the time, yeah, at the very least, or, a car, or, something.
Right.
But most of the time, if they're diving, they're looking for a body.
Or evidence of murder
Yeah.
or murder weapons, just evidence in general of a crime having been committed.
Exactly. Like guns and things that somebody might have thrown in a creek or something. Right.
So not only is the result of the work gruesome, the conditions they work in are awful. The water that they tend to have to go into is typically murky and contaminated, making it exceptionally necessary to follow strict safety protocols and to have a paramedic nearby in case something goes wrong. In order to do this challenging work, professionals have to complete very specialized training that covers underwater crime scene photography, evidence preservation, and the recovery of bodies, vehicles, and planes.
Right. That would be... I didn't even think about planes, but planes wouldn't it be another prevalent one, crashes and stuff.
So the annual wage, roughly, is $62.9. It's basically 63 grand a year.
I guess that's not terrible either, because I'm assuming they wouldn't be called upon often, but, enough. I'm sure. Probably, of course, a lot of it would depend on the area as well, but still, yeah.
So, also, the degree level required is, at minimum, as I've been saying, high school diploma.
Yeah.
Running theme.
Yeah, most of the police jobs, that's probably going to be about the thing,
Yeah.
Then they get more training on the job and things.
So, next is psychiatric ward attendant. So, they have a rather demanding job that requires as much compassion as it does competence. Unfortunately, oftentimes they lack both.
True that.
These workers are responsible for helping those in psychiatric facilities with their daily needs, such as giving patients medication, helping them bathe and get dressed, and serving meals. In addition, ward attendants may be required to perform certain housekeeping-related duties, including making beds and clearing the floor of items patients can trip over.
Right.
They may also assist patients with recreational activities. Although at first, glance, this job doesn't sound like it belongs on this list. Working with psychiatric patients every day can actually be very disturbing at times.
Probably dangerous considering who it might be. You don't
Yeah.
know.
Since these patients may have difficult times controlling themselves, workers can often be subjected to violent outbursts that include being bitten by patients and even having urine or feces thrown at them.
Yeah, I've heard that happening
Yeah.
more than it should, probably.
As a result, psych ward attendants often suffer injuries on the job as they try to restrain patients and calm them down. The rough annual wage is about 29 grand.
Yeah, not much either, I can imagine.
Also, the degree level required is, as is standard for this list, high school diploma.
Oh, yeah. You wouldn't need anything special, since you're just more or less a glorified babysitter.
Yeah.
Just with adults that are possibly very dangerous. Possibly not.
So, next is steeplejack. For anyone with acrophobia or vertigo, even the idea of doing this job is terrifying. But for those who have no fear of heights, which is not me,
No, I wouldn't say me either.
it
Not
is
extreme heights.
it is a way to spend the day on top of tall buildings in order to do restoration work as well as inspections. To that end, steeplejacks are required to use high ladders, scaffolds, platforms to get to heights they need to go to do the work.
Right.
And once they get high above the ground, these professionals may install lighting, touch up the paint of a building, and replace glass on the roof.
Sounds fun.
In addition, steeplejacks determine if any damage has been done to a structure and report that information, along with the solution for fixing it, to engineers, surveyors, and architects.
Right.
While fearlessness is a must to do this job, steeplejacks also need specific training in order to do it effectively and safely. While some employers provide on-the-job training to their workers, others expect prospective employees to obtain experience through apprenticeship programs. The rough annual wage is absolute crap compared to what I think it should be. It's around 33 grand
Yeah, that's not
on
a
the
lot,
low end.
considering a lot of them would be in some very dangerous positions. Very dangerous in some situations.
Yeah. But also, this is coming from someone who's terrified of heights,
I
so...
wouldn't necessarily say I'm scared of heights per se. Just heights in general, but yeah, when they start getting really high, or if I'm doing something where I'm near an edge where I could fall, then yeah, I don't like that at all.
Absolutely not. Also, high school diploma.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It does.
That's more just general labor, basically.
So, next on the list is taxidermist.
Yay!
So, many people find working with animals to be rather rewarding, but most of them prefer their furry friends to be alive when they do.
Fair enough.
However, being around dead animals not only doesn't turn taxidermists' stomachs, but it is the inspiration they use to create their works of art.
Uh-huh.
In order to preserve mammals, fish, and birds, and help them look as if they were still alive, these workers tan, stuff, and retouch them until the projects meet customer expectations.
Right.
And when it's all said and done, they mount the animals, so they can be displayed.
Right.
While this job requires a strong stomach and unique artistic ability, there's also a great amount of business acumen that is needed to be successful. These professionals are generally self-employed, so they need to know how to market their services and nurture relationships with clients.
Right.
Also, depending on where they live, taxidermists may be required to obtain a license from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service or the Fish and Game Agency in their state.
Right.
The rough annual wage is somehow larger than steeplejack's at 49.1 grand.
I'm not really surprised because some people will pay a significant. I mean, they pay a significant amount to have some of the, if they're good. You know, they look very lifelike and things like to have like these deer heads mounted and stuff. You know, you could pay a pretty good amount just for that. You know, now not to mention like big animals and whole animals. That's going to cost more and more and more, of course.
Right. And the degree level required is a bachelor's.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even thought of that.
No. I don't understand why, personally.
Yeah. Don't know. I mean, I don't know. Okay.
Anyways, next on the list and last on the list is toxicologist. So, rounding out this list is another career that requires the handling of bodily fluids that many people would rather not think about.
Right.
In this case, professionals examine tissue, blood, and urine samples in order to detect the presence of substances or chemicals in someone's body.
Right.
As a result of this lab work, toxicologists can determine if alcohol, drugs, metals, or poisons have anything to do with a crime.
Mm-hmm.
In addition, they may perform drug testing for employers, check a location for environmental contamination, and help sports teams find out if players have taken performance-enhancing substances.
True.
No matter what kind of tests they do, toxicologists are required to document their findings and explain what the results mean. They may work in a variety of settings, including government agencies, pharmaceutical companies, consumer products companies, private forensic laboratories, and colleges. Their schedules depend heavily on where they work. For instance, someone who does forensic investigations may work irregular hours, including late nights and weekends, while a toxicologist at a pharmaceutical company will keep regular business hours.
Right.
The rough annual wage for this job is $57.8 grand.
Well, it's not terrible either. I mean,
Not really.
considering it would be more specialized and, not necessarily called upon in certain instances. I'm guessing probably the ones that do it more full time, so to speak, will
Right.
probably make more,
Probably. But also, for the degree level required, it is a bachelor's degree, which makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense on that.
That you would be required to have a higher education for it.
But still, most of these jobs, I would definitely do them over the ones in the last episode.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I wouldn't really want to do like the crab fishing and stuff because that's just dangerous as heck. But yeah, none of these have been just horrific as opposed to the other ones. But anyway, we hope you enjoyed that episode. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. And don't forget to stay disturbed.